It's just another school day in the city of Tokyo, and Makoto Misumi, an average Japanese high school teen, seen in after-school archery practice. He is back home after practice, and in a few hours' time he takes his bath and reads his dad's new book release. He's a little tired and lays on his bed to sleep when suddenly he gets teleported into limbo, a world with different shimmers, stars and colors. A confused Makoto floats around the world and searches for any sign of his room. The god of the night Tsukimichi appears to him and informs Makoto that he's been summoned to fulfill his parents' promise to give up one of their children to the goddess to be summoned into another world. Makoto asks him why he has to do such a thing, and Tsukimichi tells him his parents are also from another world. Before they gave birth to him, they begged the goddess to take them to Earth, and in return they would surrender Makoto to the goddess. When he came of age, Tsukimichi only appeared to Makoto to hold up his end of the deal. Makoto, after hearing all this, accepts his fate and lets Tsukimichi do the niffle. He transports Makoto to the other world with lots of heroic qualities and powers. After bestowing all the powers Makoto means to survive in the other world, including magic, Tsukimichi transports him to see the impulsive goddess herself. The goddess makes fun of Makoto and gives him her own blessing, which is the ability to speak any language except that of humans. When she's done with her evil deed, the goddess throws Makoto into the new world. As he falls several thousands of feet down to the new world, Tsukimichi appears midair and holds in a float. He explains a few more things about Makoto's powers to him and then lets him free fall gently to begin his adventure in the other world. Makoto gets up and finds himself in a vast wasteland. He begins his search for civilization and wanders the wastelands for 3 whole days. Just as he's about to give up, he hears someone asking for help. He tracks the sound and follows the source to find Ogre Girl trapped and about to be eaten by a 2-headed monster. Makoto rushes and effortlessly defeats the monster, scaring and saving the orc in the process, who tries to escape him. Makoto blocks her, introduces himself, enormouses her fear of his powers and calms her down. When she's settled, the orc introduces herself as Emma and tells him about her sad life. It turns out she's to be offered as a sacrifice to the great dragon. Makoto notices the nice aura around her and decides to save her from being sacrificed before following her to her settlement. There, Makoto was given food, but he munches like a crocodile on steroids. Emma makes sure to serve him more food. While eating his meat, Makoto notices Emma using a levitation spell to transport things around. He asked her about it and she tells him it's just magic. Makoto then asks her to teach him magic and she agrees once he's done eating. Emma takes Makoto to a spot and teaches him how to create a fireball. She does her demonstration and asks Makoto to try it out. When he does, he produces the largest fireball that creates a dent in their cave. Emma measures his magic level afterwards and gets disappointed as it measures level 1. The following day, Makoto leaves the orcs after writing a letter to Emma to search for and defeat the great dragon so Emma doesn't have to sacrifice again. He treads through the wastelands and takes a little rest before continuing on his journey. He then tests out his magic again and summons a flaming arrow and a bow. Then he shoots a fiery arrow at one of the great dragon altars, destroying the worshippers. There, the worst worshippers meet their demise and a red mist appears after they're gone. Just then the great dragon Shen appears to fight Makoto. However, Makoto, who's already seen through most of the attacks, dodges them all and beats down the dragon with a series of insane punches. After getting enough punches for the day, Shen puts Makoto in his infamous memory box and takes a peek at Makoto's memories. She spectates the time when Makoto shriveled in his pants as a girl crushing on him Hasegawa asked him out. Shin gets a look at Makoto's other juicy memories. Makoto realizes he's inside illusion and snaps himself back to reality. He gets a more refined understanding of his powers and creates a zone around him where only he can manipulate. He uses this power to break himself out of Shen's zone and prepares for round 2. Shen curls up and begs him for a ceasefire. When Makoto accepts, she then asks to form a contract with him. Makoto takes a few minutes to think about it, but Shen's persuasion makes him accept the terms and conditions. In a matter of minutes, Shen signs a contract with Makoto and becomes his servant. This time she transforms into a beautiful girl with good bodily features. After getting Shen on his side, Makoto asks her why she's taking a human form. She tells him it's because he won her fair and square in their fight. The rules mandate the loser to take on the form of their new master after the contract is formed. After some small talk, Shen asks her master if she could take him somewhere. Makoto gives her his permission and she transports both of them into a demi-plane using a mist portal. On getting inside the plane, both Shen, the creator of the plane, and Makoto get confused as the demi-plane is supposed to be dark and unsightly compared to the bright evergreen land it turned out to be. The duo try out some fruits and enjoy the landscape. After sightseeing the beautiful demi-plane, Makoto tells Shen to take them back to the land of the orcs to clear up the misunderstanding they had with them. Shin transports herself and Makoto back to the real world and finds Emma running towards them. Apparently she was rushing to come and warn Makoto of fighting the dragon. When she finds out he's already defeated the dragon, she faints from happiness. That night the villagers throw a huge party to celebrate Makoto's victory over Shen the Great Dragon. Shen is seen drinking excessive amounts of ale. As she discusses something with one of the orcs there, at one point in their discussion she asked the orc if they would like to come to live in their fertile demi-plane lands. The following morning the orcs all packed their belongings and get ready to leave their lands for the good land in the demi-plane. Makoto finds out too late and confronts his servant for going behind his back and bringing the orcs along with them. However, Shen divides herself into another younger fragment and argues with her master together. With the help of the orcs she manages to convince Makoto to accept the deal. When he does, she transports all the orcs on the land of her demi-plane. Almost as soon as they get there, the orcs begin building another settlement in the rich lands of the demi-plane. Several days later, while Makoto practices his magic elements, Shen takes a dive into his memories to watch a historical drama movie. Makoto notices her getting too excited about his memories and stops her from doing so. Shen thinks long and hard about what to do and comes up with a way to threaten her master into letting her watch the things in his head play out. After he agrees to let her watch and gets bored and decides to step out and look for materials she'll need to make a TV, so she can watch easily. When she's out, Makoto checks a memory about his parents and promises to follow the path they both follow to eternity. Just outside the outskirts of the orc settlement, a dwarf gets chased and attacked by the black disaster spider. Makoto finds two orcs having trouble cutting down a large tree. He steps in and uses his powers to slash the tree in half before handing it over to the orcs. He then heals the wounds of one of the orcs and continues his journey. Up next, Makoto settles down somewhere to rest a bit. He finds his blood dripping and tries to heal himself, all to no avail. Just then Shen shows up with an unconscious dwarf. Makoto asks her how she got to know him and she says he was attacked by the black disaster giant spider. Speaking of the devil, the spider arrives a few moments later and attacks Makoto. Makoto's fear of spiders clouds his fighting abilities and he runs helter-skelter from the webs the spider spun at him. When he gets back to his senses, he uses his fire powers to cut down the limbs and head of the spider. To his surprise, the spider kept on regenerating and becoming stronger. At one point in the battle, the spider traps Makoto on a tree and begins sucking its blood. A switch flips in Makoto's head and he turns into the spider's worst nightmare. He burns the spider to a crisp and faints for exhaustion. Still, the spider regenerates itself and fondles Makoto. Shin arrives and collects her master from him with Makoto still unconscious. She somehow talks the spider into making a contract with Makoto. The spider transforms back into a human being and follows them home. Makoto wakes up a few hours later to find a strange, cute and dangerous new girl who introduces herself as the Black Spider to him. The Black Spider introduces herself to Makoto and tells him how he was healed from his wounds. Makoto gets very surprised and scared at the same time that Shen made a contract with a black spider without his consent. When he's fully awake, Makoto gets to see his people again. Shen and the black spider. However, the dwarf they saved earlier also shows up and introduces himself as Elder, dwarf skilled and can craft noble robes and sacred artifacts. He explains further to Makoto about the curse he lifted off a black spider after returning her to her original form. He makes a humble request to Makoto, asking him to allow his people to live on their land in the demi-plane. Just as Makoto is about to accept without any conditions, Shen butts in and tells the dwarf all the conditions they need to meet up to the live in the demi-plane. The dwarf has no problem with this, so he sets off to get back to his people. After a full recovery, Makoto steps outside the demi-plane to search for humans. On this day his search is fruitless and he's called back inside the demi-plane by Shen. On getting back, Shen and the black spider asked Makoto to give them names. Makoto reluctantly named Shen Tomo, as for the spider he names her Mio. Both ladies glow as they love the names their master just gave them. Up next, Makoto presents himself as the young master to the new citizens of the demi-plane. His two servants cast a vote to decide which title suits him the most. After deciding to call him young master, each colony begins introducing themselves first. The dwarves present their chief elder, who introduces himself and pledges his loyalty to Makoto's rule. Next up, the mist lizards from Shen or Tomo faction present themselves to join the demi-plane. Thirdly, Mio shows Makoto her clan of alcheminoid spiders and forces them to introduce themselves to their new master. After the necessary introductions, Makoto ends the meet and greet. then rushes off the stage to continue to search for a human settlement. He's lucky this time as he finds a beautiful lady somewhere in the wastelands. He approaches her and tries to talk to her. However, the lady sees something else and runs for dear life. Confused, Makoto follows the lady to her settlement and finds a group of soldiers waiting to send him away. Makoto tries to communicate with him, but since the goddess made him unable to speak with humans, they couldn't understand him. Makoto rushes back to the demi-plane, cussing at the goddess for his misfortune. Back in the demi-plane, Emma and his two other servants reveal the reason why Makoto looks so scary to the humans. Earlier they tell him about the cloak of mana hovering around his body. To the humans this makes him look like a demon king. Makoto promises to work on this deformity and appear normal to the humans. Over the next few weeks and even months, Makoto learns all he can about human language common and even tries getting the dwarf elder to make him a ring to suppress his powers. The first ring fails, but as time goes on the dwarf craftsman creates a ring that can suppress enough mana. Makoto also learns to display the human common language. While walking he is very happy as he leaves for the human town the very next day with his servants. On getting to the town of Zetsu, Makoto and his people make their way to the Adventurers Guild to register as adventurers. The attendant finds their dress weird and makes some snide remarks about them. Following the small talk, the attendant explains the power levels that the guild and their significance. She also mentions the rewards they'll be getting once they complete their missions. Now all that's left is to measure their power levels. Tomo and Mio both measure power levels much higher than 1000. Makoto on the other hand only gets 1 power level. After registering themselves at the guild, Makoto and his servants get to the inn around town to rent a room for the night. The receptionist tries to dupe them but soon succumbs to a heavenly power after much pressure. Makoto and his servants, after settling down in their rooms, get back to town to get something to eat. While in town, Makoto and his servants sees people following them. They wait until nighttime to lure out their followers and teaching a lesson. When night comes, Makoto and Mio pretend to be two drunk lovers so the followers underestimate them. However, they get shocked when a street kid approaches them to ask for help. Makoto and Mio are surprised to see a child roaming the streets. Mio rudely asks the child about her origins, but Makoto scolds her and gets closer to the child. The girl, who calls herself Renon, tells Makoto that she's on a quest. When asked what the quest was about, she cries and hugs Makoto. Makoto then decides to take the girl back to the demi-plane, not knowing that someone was watching them from behind a corner. Makoto takes Renon to his room in the inn and finds out that the little girl was working with a crime boss in the town of Zetria to free her captured sister and hopefully return to their home. At that moment, Tomo finds a group of thieves trying to steal their wagon. She catches up to them and executes all except one of them, whom she captured and brought to her master. Makoto scolds Tomo for killing all the criminals and sentences to a 1-hour lecture with him. Renon interrupts their conversation and asks for some food. Makoto gives her Tomo's food and also gets to see a sketch of Renon's sister. Makoto's mood changes after noticing how similar Renon's sister to his sweetheart back in the real world. Later that night, Mio returns from her outing and finds her master and Tomo peering into the memories of the criminal Tomo captured earlier. After getting her exact location, Makoto orders his servants to infiltrate the prison and free Renon's sister. They do hesitate to follow the orders initially but soon succumb to their master's demands after seeing his serious face. After they're gone, he keeps wondering about Renon's sister. On their way to the prison, Mio and Tomo talk about their master's memories. Mio gets jealous that Tomo was being able to see their master's memories so easily. Eventually they cut off their talk as dawn approaches. By morning, Makoto and Renon ride their wagon into town to deliver some merchandise. On their way there, Renon narrates her sob story, telling Makoto how she and her sister fell into the hands of the most powerful and arrogant adventurer in all of Zetsuya. Elsewhere, Renon's sister To explains the reason behind her fighting. According to her narration, she entered the wastelands and brought tragedy on herself and her sister just because she wanted to restore her family's honor. Just as she's about to zoom out, Tomo and Mio appear to her and break her out of the cell. In their plan to sneak To out of the cell, but they're caught unfortunately by Mills Ace, the most powerful adventurer. While riding through town, Renon spots one of Ace's henchmen. She ditches her ride and sneaks to an alleyway to meet with him. Makoto uses his locator spell to fish out the building she's in and eavesdrops on the conversation. Turns out the boss wants her to steal from Makoto despite his kindness towards her. Renon asks if there could be another way, but the boss tells her she has no choice. After sending Renon off, the henchman returns to his boss Mills Ace. He finds Mills in a face-off with Tomo and Mio and recognizes them as the adventurers who exceeded level 1000. Mills smiles and asks them to join his team, only to get no as an answer. Mills then proceeds to insult Makoto and angers the girls. They unleash a powerful magic attack on him, but he blocks it with his magic barrier. The girls get serious with the boys and pummel all of them to oblivion. When they're done, they find out they've already destroyed about half of the entire town of Satsuya. Rather than reflect on their actions, the girls get into another argument and decide to let out their frustration on the rest of the town. Together, Mio and Tomo both level the entire town of Zetsuya to the ground. Renon is soon reunited with her sister and has Makoto and his 2 disgruntled servants to thank. After putting the sisters to sleep, Makoto punishes his servants for leveling the city. He ties them up and shoots them back into the demi-plane. And that's the end of the video. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to my channel. I will bring more excitement anime in the future. Thanks for watching, bye.